The sky above Earth was no longer blue. From space, it looked cracked and bruised, clouds black with ash, oceans dim and still. The planet spun in silence, wounded and dying. Fires burned slowly across the continents, glowing like dying embers in the dark. Commander Zarek Vox stood at the main window of the command deck aboard the ES Valor. It was Earth's last warship, orbiting high above the ruins. His hands were behind his back, shoulders stiff. He had not slept in 2 days. "Status report," he said quietly. A young officer turned from her screen. "Drexar signals detected beyond Saturn. 4 ships, maybe more. No movement toward Earth yet." Zarek nodded. He expected them to return. Vorik Thane had never finished what he started. The Drexar had come without warning 3 years ago. They were not like any alien race humans had imagined. Cold, fast, merciless. They burned cities before speaking. Now only silence remained. Zarek walked to the center of the room. Around him screens blinked and showed the broken surface below. New Geneva, once Earth's shining capital, was now a crater of ash. "How many civilians still alive down there?" he asked. "Less than 20,000, sir. Mostly underground shelters. No contact in 48 hours. He closed his eyes for a moment. 20,000, from a population of 9 billion. Earth was dying, and he was the last line of defense. Behind the command deck was a secure chamber. Inside it, protected by layers of code and steel, was the chronocore. The weapon had been Earth's final creation. It did not destroy ships or cities. It erased species from time itself. Zarek hated it, but he knew they might have no choice. He turned to his second-in-command, Captain Rena Miles. "Prepare the message," he said. She hesitated. "Are you sure? If Vorik comes back, he needs to know exactly what he's risking." She nodded and began typing. The message would go out to all Drexar channels. A final warning. Zarek stepped back to the window. Far in the distance, Earth hung like a forgotten jewel, scarred and dim. He thought of his parents, his sister. All gone in the first wave. He had survived. Now he carried all of humanity with him. A red light blinked on the console. "Incoming signal," an officer called. "Encrypted. Drexar origin." Zarek didn't flinch. He expected it. Vorik was back. He walked slowly to the comms chair and sat. The screen flickered. Static cleared. Vorik Thane's face appeared. Scaled skin, cold yellow eyes, sharp like a blade. His expression was calm, almost amused. "Human," Vorik said. "I see you still crawl above your ruined world." Zarek stared at the screen. His voice was steady. "You made your point, Vorik. But this war isn't over." Vorik smiled. "You threaten us again. You barely exist." Zarek leaned forward. "We have one message for you. One more strike, and we wipe you from history." The line went silent. Vorik's smile faded just slightly. Then the screen went dark. Zarek stood up. He turned to his crew. "Hold position. Watch for movement." "We wait." Outside the window, Earth continued to spin slowly in the dark. The command deck of the ES Valor was quiet. Tension filled the air like static before a storm. Every officer sat stiff in their seat, eyes fixed on screens. No one spoke unless they had to. Commander Zarek Vox stood near the center console, arms crossed. He was calm, but his jaw was tight. The message had been sent. "One more strike and we wipe you from history." Now they waited for the Drexar's reply. It came faster than expected. "Encrypted response," the comms officer announced. "It's him, Vorik Thane." "Put it through," Zarek said. The main screen lit up. Vorik appeared, seated on his dark throne aboard the Drexar command vessel. The background behind him shimmered with deep violet light, alien symbols glowing on the walls. His golden eyes locked onto Zarek's face. "I received your little threat, human," Vorik said, his voice low and cold. "Very bold, for a dying species." Zarek didn't flinch. "We don't want war, but we won't die quietly." Vorik's mouth curled into a half-smile. "You're already dead. You just don't know it yet." Around the bridge, a few officers shifted uncomfortably. Captain Rena Miles stood beside Zarek, arms folded, her expression hard. Zarek replied, "We've given our warning. The next move is yours." Farak leaned forward. "This weapon of yours, the chronocore. Do you really understand it? To erase a species from time. A desperate act for desperate people." Zarek's voice stayed even. "Desperation made us build it. You made us use it." Farak's eyes narrowed. "You wouldn't dare." Silence hung for a moment. Then Zarek answered, calm and certain, "Try us." Farak said nothing. His image froze for a second, then the screen cut to black. The room was silent again. Zarek turned to his crew. "Log the exchange. Flag it under Red Protocol. If they attack, we do not hesitate." "Yes, Commander," said Reyna. An alert flashed across the navigation screen. "Commander," a young officer said quickly, "Drexar fleet is shifting position. Looks like forward movement. Small, slow but definite." Zarek walked over, toward Earth. "Yes, sir. Still outside Saturn's orbit. But they're moving." He studied the screen. Farak was testing them, watching to see if they would act too soon. Zarek took a breath. "Hold fire. Keep all targeting systems locked. We don't shoot unless they cross the Mars line." The Mars line was a red boundary drawn across the system. If the Drexar passed it, Earth's defense fleet would take it as a direct threat. The officers nodded. Everyone knew what that meant. Zarek stepped into his private chamber just off the bridge. It was small, just a desk, a screen, and a simple cot. He sat down, stared at the map of the solar system on the wall. He remembered Farak's eyes, calm, cruel, confident. The enemy wasn't afraid, and that was what scared him most. Darkness filled Commander Zarek Vox's quarters, lit only by the soft blue glow of the star map on the wall. Tiny red dots marked the Drexar fleet. They crept forward, slow and steady, just beyond the Mars line. Always watching, always waiting. Zarek sat in silence, hands resting on the table. His eyes were open, but his mind was far away, lost in memories he couldn't forget. 3 years ago, Earth had been alive. He remembered walking through the green gardens of New Geneva. People laughed in the streets. Children played in the fountains. He had been off duty that day, sitting beside his sister Mara at a cafe, drinking spiced tea. That was the moment the sky turned red. He had looked up and seen the Drexar ships falling like fire from the clouds. The sirens began to scream. Then came the first impact. Zarek's sister had died in his arms, crushed under the rubble of a collapsing tower. He had carried her body for 5 hours through smoke and dust before joining what was left of Earth's military command. He had never forgiven himself for not acting sooner, for not being ready, for hesitating when the first Drexar envoy arrived and spoke of peace. But Vorak Thong never meant peace. Zarek shook off the memory and stood. He needed to be sharp. The past was painful, but the present was still his to command. He walked back to the bridge. Captain Reyna Miles met him halfway. Her face was tense. "Commander," she said, "we have a problem." He followed her to the command deck. A large display flickered with a live image from the surface, what was left of New Geneva. Smoke still rose from the crater where the capital once stood. But now, something new appeared on the edge of the screen. "Movement," said the sensor officer. "Underground bunker 34. Life signs detected. Civilians." Zarek leaned in. "How many?" "Maybe 400, sir. Some signals are weak. They've broken contact with orbit. Might be running out of power." Zarek stared at the screen. 400 more reasons not to fail. He turned to Reyna. "Prep a recovery ship. Stealth approach. No engagement unless fired on." "Yes, sir," she replied. "Already moving." Another officer called out from the side. "Commander, I need to report crew unrest." Zarek frowned. "Explain." "Some of the junior officers are speaking out. They say we should use the chronocore now. Strike first. End the threat before the Drexar reach us." Zarek's jaw tightened. "Who's leading it?" "No leader, sir. Just fear." He nodded slowly. Fear was growing like a sickness across the ship, not just among the crew, but in himself too. Zarek called for a ship-wide address. A moment later, His voice echoed through every hall and room aboard the ES Valor. "This is Commander Vox. I know fear is spreading. I feel it too. But we are not monsters. We don't fire first. We don't erase life until we have no other choice. The Drexar are moving, yes, but they haven't crossed the line. And until they do, we hold. That is not weakness. That is control. That is strength. Trust your mission. Trust each other." Vox out. The ship fell quiet again. Zarek looked out the window. The stars looked peaceful, but he knew better. The storm was coming. Vorik was waiting to see if humanity would blink first, and Zarek wasn't ready to give him that satisfaction. The air inside the ES Valor was cold and quiet. Too quiet. Every corridor, every control room felt like it was holding its breath. Outside the ship, Earth drifted below, still burning in places, still bleeding. Commander Zarek Vox stood before the main tactical screen. The red line, the Mars line, cut across the map like a scar, and just beyond it, the Drexar fleet had stopped, but not for long. Captain Rena Miles walked in quickly, datapad in hand. "New movement," she said. 3 Drexar warships broke formation. "They're heading toward Mars orbit." Zarek nodded slowly. "They're testing us. They're pushing," she added. "Seeing if we'll act. Trying to scare us." "It's working," Zarek said, under his breath. "But we won't show it." More officers entered. The senior command team gathered for an emergency briefing. Zarek stood at the head of the table, arms folded. "We've made our line clear," he began. "If they cross it, we respond, but not before. I want confirmation, visual, energy readings, movement logs. I won't launch the chronocore on a bluff." A lieutenant raised his hand. "Sir, what if they're using the Mars approach to mask a deeper strike? A distraction?" Zarek looked at him. "Then we stay sharp, but we do not jump the gun. If we act first, we lose everything we stand for." There was silence, then slow nods. Orders were given. Teams returned to their stations. Back in the command chamber, the room dimmed as a warning light began to flash. Yellow, then orange. "Commander," an officer called out. "The Drexar warships just crossed into Mars orbit. They've passed the line." Zarek walked forward. "Are weapons active?" "Yes. Charging energy cannons. Still out of range, but heading closer." The bridge went still. Zarek turned to Rena. "Activate the chronocore. Prepare it for launch." She hesitated. "Yes, sir." Behind a thick steel door at the center of the ship, deep inside the core chamber, the chronocore powered up. Blue light pulsed through the metal veins of the chamber walls. This was no ordinary weapon. It didn't explode. It didn't burn. It reached backward, through history, through time, and erased its target entirely. Species gone. Records deleted. Memories lost. Zarek entered his launch code. One more authorization, and it would be ready to fire. A countdown began on the screen. 0 hours 15 minutes and 0 seconds. 15 minutes to final decision. He stepped back. The silence felt heavier now. "Commander," Rena said quietly, "there's still a chance they might stop." Zarek stared at the red dots creeping across the map. "Maybe. But Vorex never turned around before." She looked at him. "And if he doesn't this time?" Zarek didn't answer. He didn't need to. The timer kept ticking. 0 hours 14 minutes and 22 seconds. The crew prepared in silence. The recovery ship sent to New Geneva returned, carrying 317 civilians, weak and scared but alive. Zarek watched them being helped aboard. Children, elderly, survivors. Each one reminded him what was at stake. He returned to the bridge. "All ships maintain battle readiness. No one fires unless I give the command." "Understood," Rena said. Zarek looked out the main window. The stars didn't seem peaceful anymore. They looked sharp, cold, dangerous. The countdown continued. 0 hours 12 minutes and 58 seconds. Every second brought Earth closer to its most terrible choice. The ticking countdown echoed in Commander Zarek Vox's mind. Every screen on the ES Valor displayed the same numbers, cold and steady. 0 hours 12 minutes and 57 seconds. 0 hours 12 minutes and 56 seconds. The bridge was silent. Officers watched their stations, hands still, eyes wide. No one spoke unless they had to. Fear lived in the space between seconds. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly below. A planet scarred. A planet waiting. Zarek stood in the center of the bridge, watching the red Drexar markers inch across the solar map. The warships had passed the Mars line. Their weapons were charged, but they hadn't fired. Yet, status? He asked quietly. Drexar ship still advancing, said the sensor officer. Slow speed. No weapons discharged, but their energy levels are high. They want us to fire first, Captain Raina Miles said beside him. Push us into launching the core. Then blame us, Zarek nodded. That would give them control of the story. We become the monsters. He stepped back from the map and looked at his crew. Hold position, maintain targeting lock, but don't engage. Yes, sir. He walked to the window. Stars filled the black sky, beautiful and distant. He thought about the people down on Earth. What was left of them? The ones hiding in bunkers, the ones just rescued, the ones who never made it. And he thought about his sister again. Her smile, her voice, all gone. He clenched his fist. Was this what survival looked like? Watching, waiting, standing over a button that could erase an entire race. Behind him, Raina spoke softly. You don't have to do this alone, Zarek. I do, he replied. That's what command means. She stepped closer. But you don't have to carry the guilt alone. This isn't just your burden, it's all of ours. He didn't answer. He just nodded once, slowly. The countdown reached 0 hours 8 minutes and 34 seconds. Zarek turned to the comms officer. Any word from Vorik? Nothing, sir. Radio silence. They're letting the clock run out. He looked up at the screen. Vorik Thane was playing the long game, letting pressure build, forcing Zarek to act first, to make the hardest decision before anyone else. And the weight of that silence was crushing. Prepare ship-wide message, Zarek said. The officer nodded. Channel open. Zarek stepped forward and spoke into the mic. This is Commander Vox. I know you see the timer. I know your hands are shaking. Mine are too. We are not machines. We feel fear. We feel pain. But we also feel hope. And that hope is why we hold the line. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. We are not erasers of history. Not yet. But if we must choose between our end and theirs, we will choose to live. Stand your posts. Trust the line. We are the last of Earth. And we are not broken. He stepped back. The message cut. The timer read 0 hours 6 minutes and 2 seconds. Still, no attack. Still, no word from Vorik. The ship hummed with quiet tension. Everyone waited for something, anything, to break the silence. Suddenly, a soft alarm buzzed on the main screen. Commander, the sensor officer shouted. Drexar ships just shifted. They've stopped. Zarek's eyes snapped to the map. Stopped? He asked. Yes, sir. They've halted all movement. No weapon fire. No signals yet. But they're no longer advancing. The bridge held its breath. The countdown kept ticking. 0 hours 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Zarek looked at the frozen red dots. Vorik had paused. But why? Was it a trick? A bluff? Or had the warning finally landed? He didn't know yet. But in that moment, in the silence between stars, there was a sliver of space between fear and fire. The countdown glowed on every screen aboard the ES Valor. 0 hours 4 minutes and 44 seconds. 0 hours 4 minutes and 43 seconds. Commander Zarek Vox stood still at the center of the bridge. His eyes locked on the Drexar fleet displayed across the tactical screen. The enemy ships had stopped hovering beyond Mars, weapons still hot. No shots fired, no signals sent, just silence. Too quiet. Zarek's hand hovered near the launch control for the chronocore. One press, one order. That was all it would take to erase the Drexar from time itself. Their history, their memory, their very name, gone forever. Captain Raina Miles stepped beside him. Still no communication from Vorik. What if that is the message? Zurich didn't answer right away. His mind was full of noise, memories, fears, doubts. They want us to decide, he said. They're testing how far we'll go to survive. Raina lowered her voice. What if this is the point where we lose ourselves? He looked at her. Or save what's left of us. The crew around them stayed silent, watching, waiting. Some looked afraid. Others, ready. No one moved. 0 hours 3 minutes and 0 seconds. Zurich closed his eyes. He remembered New Geneva again. His sister's laughter. The towers rising over green parks. The hope that once filled Earth's skies. He had failed to protect it. He had waited too long to fight back. And now he stood on the edge of the same mistake. Or something worse. Was wiping out the Drexar the only way? Or the final act of a dying people? His hand dropped to the launch control. Then a beep. Commander, the comms officer called out, startled. Incoming signal. Drexar command ship. Vorik Thane. Zurich opened his eyes. Put it through. The screen blinked. Vorik's cold face appeared again. Lit by eerie violet light. His expression was harder now. Less amused. You hesitate, human, Vorik said. Why? Zurich didn't blink. Because we still have a soul, do you? Vorik's eyes narrowed. You speak of honor, yet you created a weapon to erase a race. You would end us, not in battle, but in time. We warned you, Zurich said firmly. One more strike, and we end this. Forever. Vorik studied him. Then slowly he leaned back in his chair. You have changed, he said. You were weak, now you are dangerous. Dangerous doesn't mean reckless. Vorik gave a low growl. Very well, for now we stop. But know this, peace with humans is never real, only delay. The screen went black. A deep silence fell. Everyone stared at Zurich. He looked at the countdown. It had reached 0 hours 0 minutes and 47 seconds. He turned to the systems officer. Shut it down. Power off the chronocore. The officer hesitated, then nodded. Yes, sir. The countdown stopped. The lights dimmed. The core powered down. A quiet sigh spread across the bridge, unspoken but shared. The Drexar ship slowly turned, pulling away from Mars orbit. Their lights dimmed. Their weapons cooled. The red markers drifted back into deep space. Raina looked at Zurich. You did it. No, he said quietly. We all did. But inside, he knew it wasn't over. Vorik would return. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not next year. But the Drexar had stepped back, not surrendered. And Earth had not yet healed. Still, today, they had chosen to live. The stars looked peaceful again. From the command bridge of the ES Valor, Earth slowly rotated below. The fires had faded. The skies were less red. The silence after the storm felt almost unreal. Commander Zarek Vox stood alone at the main window, arms at his sides. His reflection stared back at him. Tired eyes, lined face, a man who had carried the weight of a world and chosen not to pull the final trigger. Behind him, the bridge was quiet but calm. Officers worked at their stations with steadier hands. The red alerts were gone. The chronocore chamber was dark and sealed. The war, at least for now, was over. Captain Raina Miles walked up beside him. She held a small tablet with reports. Damage logs, survivor counts, fleet conditions. She didn't speak right away. Neither did he. Finally, she said, the Drexar fleet has fully withdrawn. No signals, no threats. Zarek nodded. They'll be back. Maybe not Vorik. Maybe not soon. But someone. Yes, she said. But today they didn't fire. And neither did we. He looked at her. Do you think we made the right choice? She gave a faint smile. You saved us, and you didn't lose who we are. Zarek said nothing, but her words stayed with him. Later he walked through the halls of the ship. He passed engineers checking systems, medics tending to wounded, crew members resting in chairs with tired smiles. Some nodded as he passed, others simply stared. But there was no fear in their eyes now, only relief. In the lower decks, he visited the rescue bay. Civilians rescued from the surface huddled in blankets. Children slept beside parents. One little girl, maybe 6 years old, looked up at him and smiled. "Are we safe now?" she asked. Zarek knelt beside her. "For now," he said gently. "You're safe." She nodded and closed her eyes. Back in his quarters, he sat down to record a final log. The stars outside blinked softly through the window. Command log. Final entry: Commander Zarek Vox, date the 14th of September 2473. The Drexar crossed the line. We stood ready to end them, but in the last seconds, we all held back. Not because we were weak, but because we remembered who we are. This war has cost us too much already. We chose to survive, and we chose to remain human. Let history remember that when the choice came, we didn't erase our enemy. We faced them, we warned them, and we stood our ground. Only, the galaxy may test us again, but Earth still stands. We still stand. He ended the recording. Outside, Earth turned in the quiet dark, a wounded planet, but alive. Survivors would rebuild. Children would grow up under new skies. Maybe one day, peace would be more than a pause. But for now, it was enough.